One evening, with eyes burning from staring at yet another bland apartment listing, a glimmer of hope caught my attention. It was nestled amongst the usual barrage of overpriced shoeboxes, secluded cabin and whispering pines, perfect escape. The photo accompanying the ad wasn't much a grainy picture of a log cabin bathed in the soft glow of late afternoon sunlight, but the trees surrounding it, towering pines that seemed to pierce the sky, whispered promises of serenity. Intrigued, I delved deeper. The description spoke of a charming one-bedroom cabin nestled amidst a tranquil forest, perfect for those seeking refuge from the urban chaos. It boasted a crackling fireplace, a cozy reading nook, and a wraparound porch perfect for stargazing. Each detail chipped away at the stress clinging to me, painting a picture of the peace I craved. The phone number listed led to a man named Mr. Blackwood. His voice, smooth as honey and rich with a faint southern drawl, confirmed the image the ad conjured. We set up a viewing for the following weekend. As I hung up, a sliver of apprehension snaked through me. The ad hadn't mentioned the distance from any town, and the pixelated photo hadn't revealed much about the surrounding area, but the desire for escape was stronger. Perhaps a bit of remote living was just what I needed to recalibrate. Packing a weekend bag, I pictured myself curled up by the fireplace with a good book, the crackling fire casting warm light on the exposed wooden beams overhead. The thought brought a smile to my face, a flicker of hope pushing back the city's relentless drone. As I drifted off to sleep, I could almost hear the whispering of the pines, a gentle promise of the peace that awaited me. The drive to Whispering Pines was a slow descent into seclusion. The towering skyscrapers and bustling streets of the city faded into a distant memory, replaced by endless stretches of asphalt that snaked through dense forests. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy, casting long shadows and an unsettling hush over the landscape. The GPS signal sputtered as I ventured deeper, eventually giving up entirely. It was like driving into a forgotten world, a place untouched by the modern hum. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a narrow dirt road branched off the main artery. A weathered sign, barely clinging to a rotting post, proclaimed it the Whispering Pines Trail. A knot of unease tightened in my gut. This wasn't quite the secluded escape I'd envisioned. The road narrowed further, barely wider than my car. Trees pressed closer, their branches scraping against the roof with an unsettling whisper. The stillness was broken only by the crunch of tires on gravel and the occasional rustle in the undergrowth. After what seemed like miles, the road finally opened to a clearing. Nestled amongst a cluster of towering pines stood the log cabin from the ad. It was charming, just as the picture showed, a perfect image of rustic tranquility. Smoke curled from a chimney, promising warmth and comfort. A tall figure emerged from the porch, extending a hand as I stepped out of my car. "Mr. Evans, I presume?" His voice, deeper than in the phone call, held a hint of something off, an unsettling blankness that didn't quite match his warm smile. He introduced himself as Mr. Blackwood, and as we shook hands, a chill ran down my spine. His grip was firm, almost unnaturally so, and his eyes, a pale blue that seemed to hold no warmth, darted nervously around the clearing. The unease I felt on the drive intensified, a prickling sensation beneath my skin. Mr. Blackwood led me inside, the cabin a pleasant mix of rustic charm and modern convenience. A crackling fire filled the main room with warmth, casting dancing shadows on the exposed beams and wood-paneled walls. A plush leather armchair sat beside the fireplace, beckoning with promises of relaxation. The tour progressed, each room a picture of well-maintained comfort. The kitchen boasted modern appliances, the bathroom a clawfoot bathtub that whispered of long, luxurious soaks. But as we ascended the creaky wooden staircase, the unease morphed into a full-blown sense of wrongness. The silence on the second floor was thick and suffocating, broken only by the distant murmur of the wind through the pines. Mr. Blackwood pushed open a door at the end of the hallway, revealing a small, cluttered room. A heavy wooden desk dominated the space, its surface littered with papers and empty vials. As I stepped closer, an open medical booklet caught my eye. Pre-surgery patient instructions, it blared in bold print. A cold sweat prickled my skin. Before I could ask, Mr. Blackwood slammed the door shut. The rusty lock clicked into place with a finality that sent a jolt of fear through me. The air in the cramped room seemed to thicken, suffocating me with a sudden rush of claustrophobia. My eyes darted around the dusty confines, taking in the cluttered desk, the overturned wastebasket spewing crumpled papers, and the lone, ominous textbook. My mind replayed the image on the desk, a medical booklet titled Pre-Surgery Patient Instructions. its crimson stain screaming a silent accusation. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum solo in the deafening silence. "Mr. Blackwood?" My voice was a strangled whisper. "What's going on?" The only reply was the creak of floorboards from the hallway, followed by Mr. Blackwood's retreating footsteps. Panic clawed its way up my throat, choking off any semblance of rational thought. I rattled the door, a desperate animal trapped in a cage. The rusty lock mocked my efforts with its silence. I threw myself against the wood, the impact sending a jolt of pain through my shoulder. My shouts were swallowed by the thick walls, unheard and unanswered. Despair threatened to consume me, the weight of isolation pressing down with every ragged breath. My frantic gaze fell on the desk, the metal toolbox nestled beneath it glinting like a beacon of hope. With a surge of adrenaline, I scrambled across the room, the loose floorboards groaning under my weight. The toolbox was heavy, its worn leather handle protesting against my hurried grasp. Prying it open, a jumbled mess of tools greeted me. My eyes scanned frantically, landing on a hefty wrench. This was it, my only chance. Picking it up, I felt a surge of defiance. I wouldn't succumb to this suffocating fear. My gaze went to the window, its view obscured by the heavy metal bars secured across the panes. A primal scream ripped from my throat, a sound filled with terror and a desperate plea for escape. With a deep breath, I raised the wrench, channeling every ounce of fear and anger into my swing. It clanged against the bars with a deafening screech, the impact sending vibrations through the room, but the bars held firm. Frustration gnawed at me, but I refused to give up. Blow after blow rained down, the metallic clangs echoing in the confined space. My muscles burned, sweat stinging my eyes. Doubts gnawed at the edges of my resolve. Was this futile? Would I remain trapped in this dusty cage forever? Just as despair threatened to engulf me again, a satisfying bend appeared in one of the bars. A surge of renewed hope coursed through me. With a final, earth-shattering blow, the bar snapped, the sound of its demise a victory cry. The remaining bars succumbed with less resistance, showering me with a rain of metal shrapnel. Ignoring the sting of minor cuts, I clambered onto the windowsill. The sight that greeted me was a dizzying drop to the forest floor far below. But below also meant freedom. The world tilted on its axis as I stared out the window, the shattered bars offering a glimpse of escape mingled with a terrifying height. The forest floor, a tangled mess of green and brown, seemed miles away. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs, adrenaline masking the throbbing pain in my shoulder. Escape. It was a desperate gamble, but one I had to take. Every second I lingered, the possibility of Mr. Blackwood returning grew. The thought of facing him again, of being trapped in that room with its unsettling secrets, sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through me. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I braced myself. The window ledge was narrow, offering little in the way of support. Below, the forest floor looked like a treacherous jumble of rocks and gnarled roots. Still, freedom beckoned, an irresistible siren song compared to the suffocating fear within the room. With a silent prayer, I pushed myself through the gaping hole, the cool night air enveloping me in a chilling embrace. Gripping the remaining bar for dear life, I started my descent. It was slow, agonizingly slow. My hands scraped against rough wood, the pain momentarily forgotten as I focused on each precarious move. Halfway down, I lost my grip. A scream tore from my throat as I plummeted, the wind whipping past my ears. For a terrifying moment, there was only the rush of air and the sickening certainty of impact. Then, with a bone-jarring thud, I landed. Pain exploded in my ankle, a searing white-hot sensation that stole my breath. Groaning, I tried to stand, but a wave of dizziness washed over me, sending me sprawling back onto the damp earth. Tears welled in my eyes, a mixture of pain and the lingering terror of the room above. But the tears quickly dried. Fear, though blunted by the physical pain, remained. Mr. Blackwood could be searching for me. I had to get away, even if it meant crawling on my hands and knees. Ignoring the throbbing in my ankle, I began to push myself forward, using broken branches and tree trunks for support. The forest floor was uneven, a treacherous mix of rocks, fallen leaves, and hidden roots. Every movement sent fresh jolts of pain through my ankle, but the primal urge to survive propelled me forward. The dense canopy above blocked most of the moonlight, casting the forest floor in an unsettling gloom. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent my heart into overdrive. Was Mr. Blackwood pursuing me? Were there other things lurking in the darkness? Drawn by the sounds of my struggle, my imagination conjured terrifying images, fueling the frantic pace of my crawl. Time lost all meaning. Minutes could have been hours, or maybe even longer. All I knew was the constant thrum of pain in my ankle, the rasping breaths escaping my lungs, and the desperate need to put distance between myself and the cabin. Finally, exhaustion claimed me. My body could take no more. Collapsing beneath a towering oak, I allowed the darkness to claim me, a fragile hope for escape flickering somewhere deep within. Just as despair threatened to claim me again, a faint sound reached my ears, the distant rumble of an engine. Hope surged through me, a rejuvenating elixir. Could it be a car? Was I finally near a road? With renewed determination, I pushed myself upright, ignoring the searing pain in my ankle. I had to get closer, had to make sure I wasn't just imagining the sound. The sound grew louder with every labored step, the promise of rescue fueling my every movement. And then, through the trees, I saw it, the faint glow of headlights cutting through the darkness. A sob escaped my lips, a mixture of relief and exhaustion, gathering the last vestiges of my strength. I stumbled towards the light, the whispers of the pines fading behind me,